Aloha and welcome. In this chapter, chapter 2, we're going to be talking about buttons and LEDs. So in the previous example, we just used the Pico to control the LED on the breadboard, but now we're going to make it a little bit more complex. What we're going to do is we're going to take an input from a switch and we're going to, or a button, and we're going to have that control we're going to have the control be on the Pico, and the Pico is going to then do something with that, and it's going to send an output. So what we're going to do here, let's scroll down to the next page of our assignment. So here is project 2.1 button and LED. So as we said, in this project, we're going to control the LED state through a push button switch. And that is going to be just a simple little switch that we have in our kit. It's in the same area that the LEDs are. And when the button is pressed, our LED will turn on, and when it is released, the LED will turn off. And this is what describes a momentary switch. So if you look at our image here, we're going to need our Pico W, which is not this is the Pico, but we're going to use our Pico W. We're going to have our cable, as always. We're going to have our breadboard. We're going to have a jumper. Actually, we're going to have 3 jumpers. We're going to have one LED. We're going to have one 220 ohm resistor. And we're going to have 2 10K resistors here. These are known as, I think they're pull down resistors. So we're going to be using those, and we're going to be using one push button. So getting into the project, one thing to understand about the buttons is this type of button switch, it has 4 pins. It's a 2-pole switch, and 2 of the pins on the left are connected, and 2 of the and both the left and right sides are the same, just like in the illustration here. So you're gonna have a button. We'll take a look at it in a second in close detail, but we'll look at the underside to figure out how to actually install that one on the board. So when the button or on the switch is pressed, the circuit is completed. So our project would then power on, the LED would power on. So when we take a look at our schematics, it looks like this. So we've got GP13, we've got our 10K resistor here, we've got our 3.3 volt power source, and there's going to be a 10K resistor here as well. Then we're going to have our switch, and then it's going to go to ground. Then over here, we've got our LED ground, and we've got, it's going to be coming off of pin 20. So let's scroll on down and take a look at what that looks like physically. So when we look here, we can see that we've got 2 different parts of this circuit, actually. So the first one that I'll point out is the LED. So over here, we've got pin 15. It's connected to the resistor, the 220 ohm resistor. Then we connect that to our LED. And then we come back to ground. We go back to the ground pin over here. And then the second part is going to be the push button. So the push button is over here. We're going to put this in the center. And then we're going to run from over here. We're going to have our power. So you look over here, we've got 3-volt power coming down here. It's going to go. We're going to put it in serial with a 10K resistor. And then we're going to put that in serial with the button over here. Then on this side of it, we're going to have 2. We're going to have from the top, we're going to have from the button, we're going to go down to another 10K ohm resistor, and we're going to go from there, we're going to jump it over to the pin 13. And then over here, we're going to have the other side, we're going to have that go to ground using another one of our jumpers. So we've got 2 separate parts here. We've got the part where we're going to be sending signal out to our LED like we did before, and we've got it going back to ground here. And the other part, we've got our button. So when our button is being pressed, we're getting juice from this side, it goes through here. When we press this down, it connects, and our LED goes, it turns on. So you can see it goes back to here. But what's going to happen is when you press that switch, it's actually not going to be lighting this up directly. What it's doing is it's sending here the signal back to 13, to pin 13. So then the Pico in our code, it's going to make the decision what to do. And then it's going to go out to 15 and turn on the light for us. So it's not the switch directly activating the LED. The switch is actually sending a signal back to the Pico. And the Pico is going to make a decision and turn on the LED from that. So the next step to do is look at the code. So I'm going to go down to the code here. and we can look at it here. So we've got from machine import pin. We're used to that. Import time again, so we can sleep. So we say LED pin 15 is going to be, we're going to use the pin out on that. So we're going to be pushing values out on 15. So if we go back and look at 15 here, this is where we're going to be putting out a signal, which is going to light up our LED. So then the other one we're about to see is 13. So when we look at 13, we're saying button is equal to pin 13. It's going to be used for input, and we're going to do a pull up. And don't worry about pull up for now. It has to do with the what signal we're going to have on that pin to begin with. And that also ties in with the resistors. They don't have the explanation of it in here, but it has to do with the fact that you're dealing with low power, high power. And when you don't have anything specified in the initial state, you can have some issues. So that's why we have to put in the resistors. And it's also why we're doing a pull up right here. But don't worry about that for now. After we do that initial setup, we're going to go into a while loop. We're going to say while the button value is not true or 1, while it's not that, LED value is going to be 1. So in other words, while we have low on the button value, we're going to keep the LED on. So when we have the button depressed, it's going to clear. It's going to give us a 0. So or 0 or false. It's going to be low power actually. So when it comes through on here, we should pick up either the value of 1 or actually if not button of, so we'll have a value of 1 or false. So this will trip and turn on the light for when it's depressed, when the button's depressed. Else it's going to be value 0, which is going to be the LED is off. So in this project, we use the pin module of the machine, as we said. So before initializing it, we need to import the module first. That goes without saying. And as I just explained to you here, we go through the checking the state of the switch to control it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get our video running here. So let me pull up the video. Stop the screen sharing. We'll go to our video. I believe I have that right now. So here's our breadboard. I apologize for the shadows in here. I'm doing this recording at night. And let me go ahead and pull all the pins that I have in here so we can start afresh. But as you can see, the equipment that we're going to have is 3 of these cable, the jumpers. We're going to have our 220 ohm resistor. Over here, we've got 2 10K pull down resistors. We've got our LED and we've got our push button right here. So let's take a look at the push button real quick and see if I can get some light on that so you can see it a little bit better. You can only plug this in one way, but you'll be able to see that 2 sides are connected. And hold on, I'm trying to get this. Yeah, you can't really see, but you can kind of tell there that you've got 2 sides connected. So we're going to have that like this. We're going to put this onto our board, something like this in the center. And we'll use that to, yeah, we'll just stick it like that so that you've got, if I move it on the side, you might see. So you just want that set up so that you've got it into the first holes on one side. Then you're also going to have it on the first holes on the other side. So just go ahead and set that up. The first thing that we're going to look at here is, let's go to our schematic again. And looking at our schematic, the first thing that I want to set up is the LED over in here. So I'm going to take our LED, and of course we look at what is the long side, what is the short side. So the long side is the powered side, so the positive side. So we're going to take this and we're just going to stick this into, let's see, we're going to stick it into here. So the positive is on the north side, the negative is on the south side here. And then we need to take a resistor, our 220. We need to put that in here. And the resistor is going to connect pin 15 to the positive over here. So I'm going to have this. And of course, I don't think I should have to mention this, but you see how we're unplugged right now? don't have yourself plugged in when you're doing this, because you're going to be, you know, working with powered stuff here. So anyway, let's take a look here, see if I'm trying to move this around and get into the light, but we want this side into this slot right here. So we want that into the 15 pin. And then we want to put the other one over here. And let's see if I can make this more visible around my big fat fingers, which it doesn't look like it's going to be possible. So let me just put it where it needs to go here. So I'm putting it down there. So if we can take a look at it right there, we see that I do indeed have this horribly bent resistor going into pin 15 over here. Well, no longer going into pin 15 because I just moved it. Let me do something. So when you're working with resistors, one thing you may want to try to do is just make these short if you know you're going to be doing it on a short thing. And remember, these don't have a positive or negative side. They're equal here. So once you bend it as close as you can to the resistor itself, you know, and get those, you know, sometimes that can feed you a little bit better. But anyway, let me go ahead and reattach this. I need to go into pin 15 down here. So let me see if I can hit pin 15. So that is pin 15 right here. And then to get the other side in, let me see if I can do this. Wow, this is really challenging in the dark looking at just the computer monitor to figure it out. So anyhow, I think I've got it now. So if I look at it, I see that I'm in 15 over here. So that is 15. And then down here, just to make sure I am in serial, yep, I'm right next to the positive side of our LED. So that's the first part. Shouldn't have taken that long, but okay, I'm slow. Then we'll go ahead and we'll take a short jumper here. So we're going to take a short jumper. And now we're going to connect this to the negative side. So we're going to go over here to the negative jumper here and put this in right there. And then I'm going to run this one over to, let's see, the ground, which ground, if you look over here, you can tell it's, well, let's try to get my fingers out of the way again. We've got ground over here, so I'm just going to plug it in right there. So that should connect our negative side of the pin. Yep, we can see that. It's, yeah, it's on the negative side here. Lighting is absolutely horrible, but we've got the negative side over to ground, and we've got the positive from 15 over to the positive side. So that is the half of this project, which is the LED itself. So this is the LED part. Now we have to get the resistors in place for the resistors in place for the button that we're going to be using here. So let's go ahead and work on that. So the first thing we need to do is take a jumper, and we're going to be running this from our 3 volt. And our 3 volt, if we look up here, our 3 volt power is this one right here. So we can go from 3 volt power. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's the 5th pin down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going from pin 5. We're going to go all the way down here. We're going to set some space up somewhere like here, maybe. And we're just going to keep it here. Now we're going to put in our first of our 2 resistors, our 10K pull down resistors. So we take these and we're going to put it in serial with this thing. So in serial, just meaning that we're going to be putting it right. Hold on, does that? I'm going to have to do this. Okay. So we go in here. So I've got that one side in. I need to put the other one on the north side of this on the left. So again, working blindly here. I think that I'm getting it here, but I will take a look. So do I have that? Yes, I do have that on the north pin, and I have that in serial over on this side. Make sure that's down. Yeah, that's connected. So haphazard, but connected all the same. So now I need to take from the other side, I need to take our other one. Actually, yeah, I need to take the other one, and we're going to connect this over here on the top. So I'm going to go from the top here, and I will just jump that off. Hold on a second. Let me get that pin in to the north side, and we're going to put it, let's just say over here. So I've got one end, as you can see, in the north side here. So I'm going to make sure that's planted in. And then the other end, I've just got going over into this lane. So I will go ahead, make sure that's in nicely. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another jumper, and I will go in serial to this. So I'm just going to go over here, plug in here. So I've got that in serial. I'm going to run that over to our ground. So our ground, I'm going to run it over to the one, let's see, up here. So right here should do. So that should do for that. And then I'm going to take the other side of our jumper. I may have misspoken earlier before. I think I said we need 3. We actually need 4 of these jumper wires. So I'm going to take a 4th one here. I'm going to go from the other side of our pin over here and go from there. I'm going to run that one over to, oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke earlier. So this one here does not go to ground. This one goes to the 13, or no, that goes to pin 13. So I'm off. I should put that into pin 13. And the one that I'm connecting here, the red one on the south pole of this, I'm going to be sending this over to ground instead. So let's go ahead and see. Let's make sure I've got those in the right place. Nope, I don't. So we go one down from there. So I've got that in ground, and then you can see the other one I've got in 13. So again, I've got the white wire is going from the resistor. Let me move everything over. So I've got the white one going from the resistor up to pin 13. So that's going to be the data side. So as we press on this, it's going to, when we press it down, it's going to send the signal over to pin 13. So we'll be drawing it in, or actually, yeah, on pin 13. And then when we release it, that will short that, or when we release it, we're going to turn the LED off. But what's happening is when we press it down, we send a signal over here. It goes on the white line down to 13. So we'll be using it as input. And then for the LED, we're going to be using 15 as we did, I believe, in the last one. So we'll be using 15 to send the signal to the LED to turn on. So I can plug this up, I hope, without frying it. So I have plugged it in. It is not smoking. I don't smell anything, but really it's after we press the button that we'll find out if it's smoking. So now we're gonna cut back to our screen. So let me go back to, let me go back over to our code editor. So I'm going to close out this and go into our code editor. So you can see in our code editor here that we have, let's see, we've got from machine import pin, import time. We're going to say that pin 15 is going to be our output. We're going to be putting, we're going to be putting out on 15. And then 13, we're going to be doing pin in, and then the pull up that I mentioned for the pull down resistor. And over here, while true, we're going to say, hey, is the button value not 1 or true? And if it is, then we're going to be putting out value 1 to the LED, which is our pin 15. So we're going to be sending it out there to turn it on. If it's not, then we're going to be sending it value 0. So let's go ahead and try running this. So I am in VS Code. I don't see my micro pico coming up here. So let me go ahead and try to pull up let's see, command palette, and I will configure project. So it'll activate the extensions. Now, if I run it, we have, let's see, oh, we have nothing going on. And the reason is I need to push the button. And as you see, I push the button and it turns on. So again, what's going on here is we've got power coming over to here. It's coming up to this, but it's when we push this button that actually sends the signal over to our pin 13. In pin 13, it comes into the Pico, and the Pico says, hey, I see that your pin there is set to 1 or well, actually it's set to 0, because when you push it down, it's actually value 0. So when you push it down as value 0, it goes to 13, and our program's checking in a loop here saying, hey, is it 0 or false? And it says, hey, yes, it is. So then it'll go and light up our LED. So this is the result of that. And I apologize, the logic there on the button value is a little bit difficult, but what we're looking at is when we push this, we're going to be sending a value of 0. So when we send that value of 0, it's going to come in here, it's going to say not of 0, which is going to be a true. So when that's true, then we're going to say LED value is 1, and LED is defined as our pin 15. So it's going to send 1, it's going to send electric out on this. It's going to go through the resistor. It's going to light up our LED. So that is the wonderful project 2.1. So yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed that. I apologize for the lighting on this project. It's nighttime and I'm trying to find some kind of a way to do this, but I'm casting shadows and it's really difficult for me to see where I'm sticking the pins because I'm looking at the video screen instead of the actual board itself. So it's a little bit strange, but thanks for bearing with me. If you have any questions about this, feel free to ask and I'd be happy to tell you more about it. Have a great day.